The last significant thing that moral perfectionism can cause that I've got written down is the constant fear of judgment from others and hypervigilance of how other people treat you. Because you constantly are holding yourself to this high moral standard and you constantly need to be perceived as doing good, being good, it can cause things like decision paralysis because you're so caught up in which decision is going to be best in terms of whether people are going to consider you as good as possible. It can cause you to panic and delay your decision-making process. It can also cause you to dull down your own personality traits and who you actually are in order to fit into the mold of what you think other people would perceive as ethically sound and morally sound. You end up being quite inauthentic because you haven't truly explored who you are, what you want, making decisions that you think are right, never being the one to put their opinion and their input out there because you want to make sure that it sort of fits in with what other people would think is the moral standard. So as a little summary, moral perfectionism can cause intense, constant anxiety, depressive episodes or major depression, a lack of authenticity within yourself, a lack of presence, not being happy with who you are. It can cause a strain on your close relationships. It breeds an inability to actually enjoy life just because you're constantly in your head and you're stuck in the performance of it all and needing to be seen a certain way. You aren't able to make peace with being a human that makes mistakes. So let's get into the good bit. How do we stop being like this? I feel like there's a spectrum to this. I feel like you can have quite intense moral perfectionism, or you can sort of just maybe overthink your decisions from an ethical standpoint just a bit, that it kind of controls your mind, not as much as someone who is extremely hypervigilant and hyper accountable, but it can be sort of there a little bit. I feel like these tips can help you even if you've just got it a little bit. A lot of them are like affirmations, so let's go. Number 1, good does not equal perfect. We are humans and we're allowed to make mistakes and still be worthy of love, still be worthy of self-compassion, still be worthy of a good life. Making mistakes does not define your character. How you deal with it defines your character. If someone makes you feel like it does define your character, if you've taken accountability and your intentions weren't bad, they are not your friend and they were looking for a reason to condemn your character. Number 2, moral growth versus moral perfection. This is the idea of trying to make the change from this set of moral rules that you've made in your own head to focusing on growth and the acceptance of reality. So if you make a mistake, focus on how to grow from that mistake. Focus on how you deal with that mistake and your intentions rather than kicking yourself for not meeting that moral standard. As long as the mistake was unintentional, there's nothing you can do about that. It's all in how you deal with it. Number 3, looking at self-compassion as a moral act. Now, this confused me a little bit at first as well, but if you think about morality as a concept, morality is rooted in the idea that everybody is deserving of love and compassion. We strive to be moral because it allows fair and safe treatment of everybody. Right? So you're included in that. Self-compassion is a moral act because you are treating yourself fairly and respectfully. Self-love and self-compassion models moral behavior. Self-compassion and self-love disrupt that moral perfectionism cycle that causes you shame around your character. You're having these unrealistic rules for yourself, breaking them because everybody makes mistakes, having shame about that, kicking yourself and being strict with yourself again because you've made a mistake. But loving yourself provides a space for you to hold yourself accountable without the shame and without the self-hate. You can focus on growth without punishing yourself for making mistakes. Someone who is compassionate towards themselves is actually more likely to take moral responsibility. They're more likely to be accountable and therefore hold a better moral stance than someone who shames themselves and kicks themselves because they aren't overwhelmed by shame. Number 4 is recognizing the complexity and the nuance of making an ethical decision. Things are not black and white as much as people on the internet make you feel like they are. Nothing is ever black and white, and most things are debatable. Most things have substance. Most things are nuanced. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are not and that are morally bankrupt, period. And I'm sure most people are aware of what those things are. But things are never black and white, especially if you think about the psychological reasons and impacts behind it. I actually personally struggle with the pressure to be perceived as a good person. My personal goal is to realize that I actually am inherently a good person. I have good intentions, I have genuine empathy, and I care about people and things. So I think for me, positive affirmations and reminding myself that I actually am genuine, it means I don't have to do this performance, because that's not going to change me being a good person, because I actually am a good person. I am genuine. That's not going to change. So why do I feel this need to perform being a good person? Why do I feel the need to push that idea onto others when I just am? It's not going to go anywhere. If your intentions are always good, as long as you have the capacity to actually take accountability when things do go wrong, then you're on the right track. Not everything's going to meet your intentions, and that's the case with literally everybody. So to finish this off, being a good person doesn't mean constantly living up to some sort of ethical standard that you've set for yourself. And it doesn't mean having to be perceived as perfect by everybody around you. Being a good person simply just means being reflective, being present, and being open to growth. So here are some questions that I'll leave with you to reflect on in terms of moral perfectionism. Why is it that you're always holding yourself to these impossible moral standards? Do you give yourself the grace that you give to others? What would it look like for you to be good enough instead of being perfect? Underneath all of the performance, do you consider yourself to be a good person? If so, why the performance? If not, it's worth looking inwards and considering why you feel that way instead of focusing on how other people are perceiving you. Thank you so much for listening to episode 6. I am Tash. This has been Things We Say in Therapy. Please share this episode with somebody that you think might benefit from this information, and comment down below anything that you think I may have missed on this topic, or anything that you might find interesting that I've missed. Struggling with moral perfectionism can be really difficult, and I hope that you found something valuable from this episode. Please be kind to yourself. Please be kind to others. I'll see you again. Bye.